What's going on, everybody? Adam Bomb here once again, and today we are getting back down to business, talking about guitar stuff once again. Hope you enjoyed that last video, a little holiday unboxing action for you. Today's video is also slightly holiday themed. We're going to be doing a little buying guide for if you are looking for a guitar. Especially if you are looking for a, quote, beginner guitar, because I think there's a lot of talk on the internet about what kind of guitar you should buy if you are a beginner and all of that kind of stuff. And I think it's a little murky. It's definitely a murky ocean of guitar reviews and stuff on YouTube and on the internet. And I think I have some insightful things to say about this topic. And yeah, if you're looking to buy a guitar for someone or for yourself this holiday season, I would suggest that you watch this video. I'm going to be comparing my two guitars that I have set up behind me back there, the Jackson SLS DX and the Epiphone Special. One of them is $750 and one of them is $160. So I think they're going to be good to compare, talk about the difference in features, talk about why you might actually want to buy a more expensive guitar, perhaps, even if this is your first one. And also, at the same time, why you might want to invest in a cheap guitar, even if you already have an expensive one. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so I should mention here that this is more of an electric guitar buying guide. If you decide to buy an acoustic, that's great, but this may not really be the guide for you. Now, let's pit my two beautiful battle axes against one another. And I'm going to compare them using 4 basic categories that hopefully will make this all pretty easy to digest and everything for you. So, on the left is my Jackson SLX DX, and on the right is my Epiphone Les Paul Special. Now, my Jackson cost close to $800, while my Epiphone was about $160. So, and I've even seen some holiday specials for that Epiphone in like the cherry red color for like $120. So it's a really cheap guitar. I mean, that's basically about as cheap of a guitar you can get without it sounding like total crap. And this guitar is great. It's a great guitar. And it sounds really good, especially for 120 or, you know, between 120 and $200. So let's get the easy way, the easy stuff out of the way first here. And let's talk about the sound. How good do these guitars sound? Well, one of them sounds incredible for both live and studio performances, and I bet you can guess which one that is. It's the Jackson, and I would give it like a 9 in the sound category. The only reason I don't give it a full 10 is pretty much just because I know for a fact that there are better sounding guitars out there. For higher prices, or maybe not even higher prices necessarily, but just I know for a fact that there are guitars that sound better than my Jackson, but for the $750 to $1,000 range, it's about as good as you're gonna get. I mean, you're not gonna get a guitar that plays as good and sounds as good as that. That's just how it is. And then as far as the Epiphone goes, I'd give it a solid 7, which for $150-ish guitar is really, really good. And let's be clear here, if you're really a beginner, you probably won't notice a whole lot of difference between the two guitars, but I'm sure you still would be able to just tell that the Jackson has a bigger, fuller, you know, heavier sound than the Epiphone does. But again, I would give the Jackson a 9 and the Epiphone a 7, which is both very good. Now let's take a look at what I'm going to refer to as sophistication and versatility, and I think these are the two most important ones to think about when buying a new guitar, and I think they go well together when talking about them, so we're going to talk about them together here. And well, let's see. The Jackson has a lot going for it in terms of features, and I think there's a balanced amount of positives and negatives here, though. Like, it has a lot of features and a lot of really great things about it, but at the same time, it kind of takes away from the score a little bit here, because in terms of versatility, it's very sophisticated but not so versatile. So on the one hand, you have the whammy bar, which is obviously a ton of fun. I mean, you don't use it a lot. I mean, it's definitely more of an accent thing. I mean, maybe there's some guitar players like, I don't know, Tom Morello or something, like people who go crazy with the whammy bar all the time. But I think most of us are pretty chill on the whammy bar. But it is an awesome thing to have. The guitar stays in tune incredibly well. I can literally like not tune this thing for weeks and come back and play it and it'll be completely fine, which is great. But that being said, if you want to do things like changing the tuning or changing the strings, minor setup adjustments, you know, stuff like that, the Floyd Rose becomes tedious to deal with. And, you know, Floyds are pretty sensitive machines, and the slightest imbalance can cause, you know, a headache, a big headache for you. The Epiphone, on the other hand, while not very sophisticated, it's got very minimal controls. But if you apply the same thought process that I just applied to the Jackson, you'll realize that a less sophisticated guitar has, again, both pros and cons. Obviously, one of the cons is that it's not as sophisticated. It doesn't have the whammy bar and everything, but, and I should say as well, as the tuning is much harder to maintain. Obviously, the technology in general is less extensive. There's not a lot of controls. But the guitar is extremely versatile. If I want to change strings, if I want to change tunings, if I want to work on minor setup adjustments, all that stuff is super easy with a guitar like this. And the other thing with a cheap guitar is if you're doing something like a minor setup adjustment or whatever, and you break something, I mean, it's whatever, and it's not a big deal. If you break something on an $800 guitar, you know, it's more of a big deal. So overall, I would give the Jackson a 9 for sophistication, but only a 6 in versatility. And I'd give the Epiphone a 5 for only a 5 in sophistication. That's just basically middle. I'm basically saying that it's completely average in terms of sophistication. There's really nothing special about it in terms of features. But I would give it a 9 in terms of versatility because it's a super easy guitar to use. And then lastly, let's talk about style. And this one's pretty simple. Just how does your guitar look and feel? How do you like it? And as far as basic aesthetic beauty goes, I'd give the Jackson an absolute 10 because it's pretty much my dream design for a guitar. I love the red and black swirl and the body shape and the head shape and the black tuners and pretty much everything about the guitar. I love the way the neck feels. It feels so perfect when you're playing it. It's got this great glossy, perfect finish on the back. And so yeah, I would give the Jackson definitely a 10. And the Epiphone would get a solid 7.5 with its simple but elegant worn ebony finish, wood-colored neck, and silver hardware. So those are basically the 4 things that I think about when I'm thinking about buying a guitar. And again, like I said, I've done a lot of research on this over the last like 6 months to a year before I bought that Jackson and then before I bought this Epiphone. And yeah, so I wanted to pass that knowledge along to you guys, and maybe it'll help you when you're thinking about either, like I said, buying a guitar as a gift or for yourself this holiday season. So I just want to wrap this video up by circling back to what I was talking about in the beginning about a beginner guitar. Because there really is no such thing. I mean, a beginner guitar is whatever you want it to be. I think really the main thing you should focus on when you're buying a beginner guitar is your price range, how much you can afford, and then the features that you want. And that's really what should matter when it comes to buying a guitar for either someone or for yourself as a gift. I mean, for someone else as a gift, or for yourself. So keep in mind a couple of those things that I said. You know, Floyd Rose is one thing to keep in mind. My Jackson does have a Floyd Rose, and that is great if that's what you want. But if you're not going to use the Floyd, I highly suggest that you just get one without it, because it's going to make your life more difficult when it comes to changing strings and tunings and all that stuff. And to be honest, once you get to like the, I don't know, the 1500-ish range for pricing, the quality's pretty much maxed out. If you get a $1,500 guitar, you're going to get pretty much the best quality guitar that money can buy. The only reason that you can even spend more than that on a guitar, and you can spend a lot more than that on a guitar. You can spend $5,000, $10,000 on a guitar. But the only reason really for that is for custom designs, you know, custom paint jobs, custom things like that. for specific features that are more expensive, like, I don't know, Evertune, for example, which is a feature that like keeps your guitar locked in a certain tuning. So you know, there's certain features, there's certain custom things like, you know, custom inlays are another big one that costs a lot of money. So that's the only reason you can even really spend more than $1,500, $2,000 on a guitar, is because of custom stuff like that and specific features. So again, when you're thinking about buying a guitar, whether you're a beginner or not, or whether you already have an amazing guitar, yeah, and you know, you may want to, like I said, if you have an amazing guitar already, you may want to think about buying a cheaper one, just because it's more versatile and easier to use, and can be like a guinea pig for experiments if you want to try, you know, doing stuff to it, adjusting it, and doing custom things to it and stuff like that. So I also want to mention before I forget that you may want to actually think about buying a somewhat more expensive guitar, even if this is your first one and you have no idea what you're doing. You've like literally never played guitar in your life. Because if you are at least a little bit committed to learning, it may be a motivating factor for you to look at your, you know, $650 whatever guitar and say, oh, you know, I invested a lot of money into that, and I love the way it looks and feels and plays, and you know, I want to get better. I mean, if you just buy a $150 guitar like my Epiphone, you know, I don't know. I mean, you may find that you're not as interested. It may not motivate you as much because it's not as pretty, and it's not as, doesn't have as many things, doesn't have as many features, and you know, so that's just something I wanted to mention too, is that, you know, I think a lot of the stuff that's out there about beginner guitars suggests that just because you don't know what you're doing, you should get a cheap guitar. But I really just, I don't like that logic. I don't think that logic really holds up, because if you buy a much better quality instrument, then, you know, it's gonna last you longer. You're gonna want to play it more, things like that. I mean, you know, as good as my Epiphone is, there's still a big jump in quality between my Epiphone and my Jackson. And then from my Jackson to like a $2,000 guitar, there's not as big of a jump. So it may be worthwhile for you to invest in, you know, a mid-range guitar, something like $500 to $1,000, because you are going to get much better quality, and you are going to just probably like it more, and that may motivate you to play more. That's about all I got for you on this one. Happy holidays. I know 2020 has obviously been a tough one, but it's almost the new year, so we're almost not in 2020 anymore. And yeah, just enjoy these last few weeks of it as much as you can. Enjoy the holidays, enjoy time with your family, your friends, all that good stuff. And yeah, I hope this video helped you if you're actually in the market for a guitar. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and hope you enjoyed the video.